What's up? What's up? What is up? This is BOXN1. I'm your host, Ralph Wright, and I'm here with my lovely co-host, Elise Clyburn. We're just two coaches with 25 plus years of basketball experience, just inviting you into some of the conversations that we've had behind all scenes on all social medias. We have a link to something, usually have 5 different conversations going on at once. This one, we just, breaking them down subject by subject. You know what I mean? So if you rocked with us in the past, we got the Josh Giddey. We talked about Josh Giddey, aka Young Smooth. We talked about Jalen Green, a little observation about some things that we've seen. Yep. If anybody starts calling him Young Smooth, you know who to give credit to.
You heard it first. He Young Smooth for sure.
Young Smooth.
I like that.
We also did a little recap on Mikey Williams. We done a little talk about Young Ja and how this is his slowdown season, Ja and the Grizz. So today we're gonna keep it out west, but we're gonna go up north. We're gonna go up north, but we still out west.
Do you like wolves? I like dogs. Do you like wolves?
The franchise that Kevin Garnett built.
The one that Caleb brought down.
Was it really Caleb, or was it just their management?
Management.
Because they got rid of my boy Flip, and then my boy Flip came back. He was starting to build something special, and then unfortunately he passed. So rest in peace, Flip.
Rest in peace, Flip.
Flip Saunders for that. Kevin McHale did screw them over too. We're not going to talk about how they missed like 8 years of first round picks because of Kevin McHale trying to be shifty over Joe Smith. And it's not like Joe Smith was a bad player, but you just lost. And then when they did draft, you drafted trash. But no offense to them. But we here to talk about their current team, right? So if you watch the previews that we talked about the season when it came down to the West, when you watched it, we talked about the T-Wolves. We said they have the players. We just don't know if management's head's right. So we're gonna dive in just off a sample size of things that we've seen from them this season so far. So I'm with it. I'm ready to go. This is a team that, the past couple of years it's been injuries. So as right now they're all healthy. They made a couple of changes in the during the off season. So let's go. Let's get it.
Okay, so I'm gonna start by saying, right? I'm gonna ask you some questions, but I'm gonna start by saying this. I think that they totally hit with their draft pick, Anthony Edwards, right? Like
last year.
They totally hit. Like, I think we both said it multiple times on multiple videos. This past draft class has been elite. Like, it's a really good draft class, but I think they chose the right player for this team, for this franchise. What about Anthony Edwards has increased the production of Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell for you?
That's a loaded question. Let me break this down by saying this.
How did the addition of Anthony Edwards help out this team?
Let me break it down like this.
Okay.
First, I want to say is Anthony Edwards is a dog, like a dog.
Yeah.
And I don't mean it in a sense. I'm talking about a dog like a Jimmy Butler, that Jimmy Butler type, that PJ like Tucker type. Yeah, Wade. Nah, Wade wasn't even like this. He's a different type of. He's a different type. Like, because my thing is this. Because I've been looking at these guys, and we'll touch on this next, like later on. But he's either going to be a superhero in this league, or he's going to be a villain, but a super villain.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? He's not. There's no in between with him. Like, you either gonna really love him or you're gonna really hate him, specifically because what he's gonna do to your team, especially as he matures. I'm really anxious to what he does in year 3. Like, we're in year 2. But year 3 is to me is going to be huge because he started to figure it out at the end of last year.
Yeah.
So, and I was wrong. I was wrong about him.
So do you feel like he brought in that aspect of a quote unquote dog, a hard-nosed player, like a blue collar player to this team? Because they did miss it. They didn't have it.
It's not that they didn't have it. They got rid of it. Because Anthony Edwards is everything Zach LaVine was going to be.
Okay.
Like, remember, like, they traded Zach LaVine for for Butler, right?
Yeah,
And that the first thing I told you was like, yo, they just traded away their best player.
Yeah, you did say that, and it wasn't like they were getting a bad player.
No,
it wasn't like they were getting a bad player with Butler, but
if you look at the age of Karl Anthony Towns, you look at Andrew Wiggins, Zach LaVine was perfect. Like they had the perfect trio between those three guys.
Yeah.
They just needed other things around them. Once again, Tibbs wasn't the right coach for them. Zach LaVine tears his ACL. There's a lot of things that go along with that. And then the point guard that should have been playing next to Zach LaVine, unfortunately, like we mentioned, Flip Saunders passed, but that's that Karl Anthony Towns and Tyus Jones. Like Tyus Jones was supposed to be that point guard next to Zach LaVine, which would have basically fed those guys, because I think they ended up trading Rubio too along that time. So them losing Rubio kind of hurt them. But anyway, Anthony Edwards is, him being he's a no nonsense. I won't say he's no nonsense, but he doesn't care what other people think about him. That confidence, he's in that confidence bag. And that's the problem for a lot of other teams. Like he's willing to share. He's willing to say whatever it needs to be said. He's kind of like that Draymond, PJ Tucker guy. He's not a dog defensively, but he brings that. I'm going to do the talking at Karl Anthony. So Karl don't have to talk. I'm going to do that talking. So, D'Lo doesn't have to talk. All they have to do is play the game. And he's okay with that attention. So
I have another question for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about this team? Because you've been texting me like, yo, man, are you watching the Grizzlies game? Not Grizzlies, have you watched the T-Wolves game? What are you seeing different this season thus far than you did last season, near the end of last season?
This T-Wolves team could be special.
Okay, how so?
And I say this because I like the addition of Patrick Beverley. And as a Laker fan, I don't really bang with Patrick Beverley like that. But
what is Beverley bringing?
And side note, I watched Patrick Beverley since he was in high school. So, what he brings defensively is a different type of swagger, but their defense is nasty as a team. Because I mentioned it before when, and it was against the Rockets. So, you brush it off a little bit, but then I watched them play against some of these top teams. I think was it the Bucks they played? They ended up losing to the Bucks, but they basically, I forgot what team it was. They were handling them. They were handling them defensively, where, a lot of it's tough. Like they have that type of defense that you don't really have any open shots unless they let you have it.
So my next question is offensively. Like before we talked about some of their stats across the board. I'm gonna read off the stats of their top three, right? Karl Anthony Towns averaging 25 points, 7 rebounds. D'Angelo Russell was averaging 17.2 points, 3 rebounds a game, 5 assists, 4.8 assists a game. Where Anthony Edwards is averaging 23 points a game, 8 rebounds a game, and 3 assists. What are the other players? Like, what does this team need to do to really start separating themselves?
So that's the thing with this team. So you have Jaden McDaniels, right, whose brother plays for Charlotte. He's a good 3-4, right? He's a good 3-4, especially defensively. He's been the defensive guy. So understand their offense really runs through Edwards, D'Lo, and Cat. Those other guys, they're getting shots. They just haven't been converting them yet. Correct. So the shots are getting there. Then you have Vanderbilt, who went to Kentucky. He was hurt. He ended up falling to Denver. Denver ends up trading him. Denver's always been stacking talent. So now he's been starting. So he's starting next to Cat. He's a versatile player. This is a kid who, before his freshman year, was tabbed as a potential top 5 pick. So the talent is there. At this point, they have to start proving their worth as far as just playing their role. And that's what they're doing. Like, I forgot the name of their coach, but, they're talented and deep at every position. So that kind of, you don't have that consistency, because even Josh Okogie, he's one night he didn't even play, and this is a guy that was starting under Tibbs, and we know is a defender, but they brought in Malik Beasley. They're paying him, You know, at one point we talked about him being top under 25 because he was shooting 40% from the three.
Yes. So you kind of led me right into my next question. His name, the head coach's name is Chris Finch. I didn't know about it until I really just looked at it. Yeah. And we talk all the time, coaching. This is a league where the talent across the board, like every team has talented players. And like this NBA is really going to start coming down to who's coaching, who's at the helm, right?
Coaching and management.
What do you think well, we already know the management is still in chaos. They just got part new, minority owners and Jeter and whoever else.
It wasn't Jeter, it was A-Rod.
And A-Rod. It was A-Rod, right?
Yeah, it was A-Rod. And that's where the distraction is going to come in, because me and you talked about it. And I just read where, he's talking about, we're going to send Minnesota. They're going to end up going to Seattle. And it's like, why? Why would you do that? And this is what me and you talked about before the season. I said, they have the players. Mm-hmm. Their coach is good for them, right? He's not a bad coach. He's really, the thing is, it's him trying to figure out the lineups every night.
And that's what's crazy about
and getting those other guys some consistency. He has to find some consistency.
So you pretty much just answered my question. What does this coach really need to focus on? And that was kind of my answer in the back of my head, is finding that right rotation and the right third and fourth unit, variation during the games. Because like if I was looking at the rosters and the playing times, you have 3 borderline 4 players who are playing 30 minutes a game. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of young guys who honestly could be playing.
Nas Reed is another one. I watched him play shutdown defense on LaMarcus Aldridge not too long ago.
Correct. So. He's only 22. Like, let's get this young man some more playing time. So I was going to say, are you offensively, what are you seeing that this coach is making? I actually like the offense they're running.
Their offense is good. Like, it's like I said, it's the problem with that is after their first 4 scorers. So their first 4 scorers, to me, Towns, Edwards, D'Lo, Beasley, right? Aside from that, it's basically luck of the draw at that point. The shots are getting there. The passes they're passing more. I would like to see more passing. I would like to see more ball movement. But what I like specifically is that Cat is not just hovering around the 3-point line like he was in the past. Cat's been inside and it was the Nuggets game. My bad. It was the Nuggets. They played
which is
the
what
Nuggets.
We talked about.
Yeah.
Which is what we talked about. I think you said that Carolina Towns is the top 5, if not maybe top 3 center in this league, right? And I looked at you and said, everyone says this, maybe he could be, but I wasn't with it because he's outside too much. He wants to be a guard. So I mean, you were right on with that.
I think, but that's where for him, like that's what helps him offensively now, is that he's not just hovering. So now he's because he can score. That's where Kentucky won with him, right? Kentucky won with him being more predominantly inside than outside, but he shoots the way that he shoots. It's hard to tell him like, yo, you should be in the paint when you're a 7-footer shooting 40+%. So from the 3. So, either way, the ball's been moving, the ball's been flowing, and he's been attacking every big. Like it was the Denver game. That was the Denver game that I was watching the first half of. They ended up losing, but they played excellent D on Denver. So I'm looking at that. I'm like, listen, if this team can continue their defense and then their offense, like their defense is way ahead of their offense.
My last question I'm going to have for you, right? Your starting point guard is averaging 4.8 assists a game. What needs to change with that? Because you just said that they're passing and you just said that you wanted them to pass the ball more. You just said that some of their players are getting a look of the draw, their shots when you're hitting. What can D'Lo do to increase that? Because right now it looks like he's just looking to score more so than facilitate.
D'Lo, so watching them play, D'Lo's not looking for his shot. D'Lo gets it as it comes.
Okay.
Right? So there's times where he needs to attack and he does that. So he knows the timing. I think the thing is with D'Lo is D'Lo's trying to transfer over that stuff from the Nets when him and the Nets won. The difference is, so you got to remember, they had Carroll too from used to play Prince. Yeah, that's what they got. They got Prince. So that's another defensive wing guy. So the other night when I watched them play against Denver, the reason why they jumped on Denver early is because those guys were hitting shots.
Yeah.
It wasn't the 3, it was the other guys. So, those other guys.
So the other players.
So his assists, understand, if we were to look at hockey assists, right? D'Angelo Russell's probably going to be in the top 10 in assists if we add those hockey assists. He's not maybe benefiting off of those direct passes, but he's making right basketball reads. The problem is, I mean, they're all making right basketball reads, but once again, when you don't have any consistency, you don't know if you're going to play 5 minutes tonight. You don't know if you're going to play 15. Although, depending on who you ask, Finch tells these guys, and he's been communicating openly with these guys. So I think it's a lot easier to play for a coach that's going to tell you, hey, some nights it might be you, some nights it might not. It's a lot easier to take that hit. So that's just how I see it. Like with them, we mentioned them to be a borderline, playoff team anyway. So
with that being said, I'm going to finish up with this. Right now, they're 5th in conference in the West, and in power rankings, they're 11th. I mean, they're not doing bad.
No, but
I mean, if they can maintain this, money in the bank.
But then again, you got to look at who's under them and who's going to eventually come. And they're going to eventually go on that run. But this is a team that can't afford to lose 5 games in a row.
Correct.
This is a team that can afford to win 5 games in a row, which, if they win 3 out of 5, just breaking it down in 5-game intervals, if they can win 3 out of 5 games, every 5 games, this is a playoff team.
Yeah.
Right. That's what they're going to have to do. Their goals are going to have to be like, listen, we're going to take 1 game at a time, but in our mind, every 5 games we have to win. Like we have to win at least 3 of these 5 games. So the games that they're supposed to win when they play when they play the Pistons, when they play, they should win the King. They have to beat the Kings. Like that's their competition, right? They have to beat the Golden State Warriors. Like these are the guys that they're going to have to win, and they're going to have to beat the Rockets. They're going to have to beat the Rockets every game. All these other guys or other teams that's in their age bracket per se, they have to beat, and then they have to steal these other games from these top tier teams. They have to steal at least two games out of their series. And I think they could beat the Lakers, which, right now it doesn't say much, but it's going to say much when they're heavily on their schedule. They have the skill set to beat those guys. They have the bodies. What they don't have is any more real bodies after Cat, and that's what's going to hurt them, because Naz Reid is an undersized big, but he's athletic, and he knows how to play good defense. So product of UNC, he's a Tar Heel. So no, he's not a Tar Heel. My bad. He's LSU, not a Tar Heel. The other Nas is a Tar Heel.
Look, man, I have no more questions for you, dude. I mean, so far this team is playing well. They're grooving, and like I texted you the other day, I'm really liking Anthony Edwards. I'm starting to like him, like as a point where he might be one of my top 10 guys in the league right now, just to like.
Well,
I'm a fan of.
He reminds me, and I was looking at his game. He reminds me of how J.R. Rider was supposed to be for the Timberwolves. He's that kind of player. He's like that Latrell Sprewell kind of guy, where he can get it where he fits in anywhere, but he's starting to become that upper echelon version of those guys. And you're talking about, when we talk about Latrell Sprewell, he was a borderline all-star, and so we look at a guy like Anthony Edwards, and this is a kid that's probably about 2, maybe 3 years away from leading the league in scoring. But if he's going to be versatile, he could be a triple double threat every night. But I would like to see him improve defensively a little bit more.
You have anything else you want to add?
Now, when it comes to the Timberwolves, I don't want y'all to think I'm fanboying over them. I'm gonna try to watch a new team this week. But you got anything you want to talk about before we head out?
Nah, not with this.
You like I'm off Minnesota. But hopefully they don't move to Seattle. Hopefully A-Rod and company don't screw that up.
Hopefully they can shut up, sit down.
Yeah, they just need the players to play, and that's about it. A-Rod, just sit down for a little bit. Let this Minnesota team, because this is the best opportunity that they've had in a long time. Yeah. So let them beat them. Let them be great. So speaking of being great, like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. Matter of fact, if you want to talk to us personally, our Twitters are down below, so you can just hit us up on Twitter. She always has the time. Occasionally, I might respond back. I'm going to ask you, did you watch the episode first before you argue? So with that being said, y'all continue to be great.